Okay, we are live. Hello everyone. This is again, with Unavailable for the series. And today with me, I have Ashley, and we are going to be talking about her absent father. We once had a guest before who had an absent father, and I remember I said an absent father is a father who's not able to fulfill his parent duties, and this includes fathers who died, fathers who were separated with their children at a younger age, or through divorce, or fathers who were never there at all. So today with me I have Ashley, and I just want to say, Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, Rambi.
Okay, so would you mind introducing yourself?
Okay, my name is Ashley and Ashley Mhlanga, and I'm 23, and apparently I grew up without a father. So what happened was completely. So I grew up not knowing who my father is, so he was never there at all. So yeah.
Okay, so you grew up without your father. When you say he was never there, does it mean that you grew up not even knowing him or not even having a single idea of who he was or who he is?
Okay, so this is what it is. Firstly, I don't know him. I don't even know, yeah, I don't even know like his relatives. He was never there. I never saw him in flesh. And yeah, anything of any sort regarding my father, I have no idea, except some bits and pieces my mother told me. But that I think it's very little information that I can just pinpoint my mind to. So it's like if someone asks me that, do you know him? I'm like, I don't know, and it's really a mystery to me to even say that I do know him. Even with the little information that I have, like I don't, because it's very funny if someone says that even the first name of their father they don't even know. So that's the kind of situation that I have.
Okay, I'm sorry you had to grow up not knowing about your father. So, have you ever asked your mom about your dad, or you just have the information that she has told you?
Yeah, I did ask close to something that she had told me, but then she either doesn't even know. So it's like it was a really long time, but yeah, but still, it's like we don't have any information on that. Maybe I don't know if there is some kind of like a withholding information or some sort, but I don't even know. Like she didn't tell me much about him.
Okay, that's okay. So, how did that affect you growing up? Just growing up without a father, how did that affect you?
Okay, so I remember when I was still in, I think I was doing my grade two by then, and I was on my way to school. And then apparently there was a letter that was sent because by that time I was living with my aunties, my mom's sisters. And then there was a letter sent to me through the school, and it was directed to me. So she had sent some stuff for me because yeah, she has sent some stuff for me, and then I read the letter and she was expressing her love to me and all that. And then afterwards she was like, I have sent this parcel to use for this and that, right? And then in my mind I was like, maybe that's like they just send the same things to me. I mean, like they are together there. I did visit my mom by that time, and she did visit me, but then she was alone. And then, but by then I was thinking like, oh, maybe it's they are together. Like they sent this parcel to me together, like my father sent this on behalf of him not being present. And then later on, I started to recognize that actually it's not the kind of situation that I think it was. So I was in my own fairy tale land by that time. But then afterwards, I had to ask my grandmother, and then she told me the whole story. And then afterwards, when I was like in my upper primary, when that time I was now living with my mom, and then I would go to school, and then through the consultation days, you see other people, like other students with their moms and dads and so on. And then I would be like looking at them and then being envious of them. I mean, like I had like an envious time of period, because during that time, like I would be asking myself, like, why is it only me? Like, why don't I have something like that? You know, that kind of feeling. And then so um I had to, there was a time that I say to myself that this is what I have, so I have to live with it. So I came to the point where I was like, it doesn't matter. Like, she is here. I mean, she loves me so much. So I think there's no point in me trying to fix something that is non-existent. And at some point, like in high school, I had like friends, like a friend group, right? And then they had their own parents and all that. And you hear people saying that, oh, they had a weekend getaway with their fathers, what, and all that. And talking about their families going for like a father-daughter dance and all that. So I was in that kind of situation where I was like, why is it only me? But coming to understand that it's something that the society has like has embraced and say that it's actually common and it's normal. And then I was like, it's fine. Still, I can just do a mother-daughter dance with my mom. So yeah.
So did you experience any pain of seeing, your friends with their dads and then it's just you and your mom and you don't have your dad? Have you ever experienced any pain or any emotions? You said you were envious of your friends, but were you also experiencing a little bit of pain or some pain of not having your father around?
Yes, I did. I mean, there was a time that I think I actually had some sort of depression towards that, because it affected me a lot, especially during the school days. Like my high school days, it was really, really tough for me. Like I would see most of my friends with their dads, and I would not have one. So it's like whenever I would come home, I'll just start crying. I'll cry myself to sleep, and I wouldn't even know why am I even crying, just because someone have their dead and they were happy. I mean, I wasn't. I'm not saying that I didn't want them to be happy, but then I was saying that why can't I also have something that is as nice as that? So yeah, of course, I was pained by that, and it still does pain me, but I've come to an understanding that it's who I have to live for. Like I have to live with it, because that's what it is. So yeah, I still cry myself to sleep because of that. But yeah, it's one of those days.
I'm really sorry about that. So, have you ever felt rejected? You know that feeling of rejection where you say, "My dad is not here. My mom, it's only my mom who is here." I remember when you started talking, you said you like you'd receive gifts, right? And then you thought they were coming from your mom and your dad, and then later on you realized they were not coming from your dad and your mom. It was just your mom. Have you ever had that feeling of rejection, or have you ever felt rejected because of that?
In terms of like friends or like my peers and all that,
No, in
I
into your father not being available. Have you ever had that feeling of rejection, feeling like, okay, maybe my dad didn't want me, that's why I don't know him, or that's why he never bothered to reach out to me? Have you ever felt that way?
Yes, a couple of times, and it still bothers me up to now because that's the reality.
So how has it affected your relationships as well, or it was only, in regards to your father?
Um, Actually, it does. Actually, it does have a very big effect to my relationships as well because um firstly, being having that thought of like, oh, so I'm the reject child because obviously from my mom's what she told me, like I was his first child. So that meant that I am the firstborn in my father's side. So that means I do have some younger siblings. Obviously, I do that I have no idea about. So I just, in terms of relationships, I have this feeling that I was rejected, right? And I actually have that fear that if I do this, maybe he's going to reject me, and if I do this, maybe he's going to do this and do that. So you find that I would go to some certain extent to please someone just because I fear that kind of rejection that I have, because I didn't want to let that void fill me in again because it's already there. I don't want something else that's going to come and then fill that void again. So some may say that it was going to be like a toxic trait, but then in actual fact, that's what happened, and sadly, that's the reality. And have you ever, I don't know if you have ever heard of like further issues in a relationship whereby like the girl sees or like dates someone who is older because they're trying to find that father figure in her life. I once had that kind of experience, but not like he was that old, but I had that kind of experience. And then in the middle of the relationship, I was like, what am I actually doing? Like, is this exactly what I want, or there's something that I'm actually looking for? So at the end of the day, I say to myself, this has to stop at some point because he's never going to be that. And for my understanding, even if he left me, he left us, I still have that sense that nobody has to fill that place for him. He has, even if he's not there, but nobody has to fill that place for him. So I was like, no, this has to stop. So yeah.
Okay. So you trying to date an older person was, you were trying to fill that gap, fill that void. I actually wanted to ask you, like, have you ever tried to fill the void created by growing up without your father? So you actually mentioned that you were once in a relationship with someone who was older, and along the way you asked yourself, like, what am I doing? So was it the only thing that you've done to try and fill that gap of not having a father, or there are other things that you have done as well?
No, that's the only thing that I've done.
So
Because
are there have you ever tried filling the void created by not having a father?
okay, so I can say the other thing that I've done to try to fill that void is to try so hard to be there for myself, you know. So I don't know if you understand. Okay, so this is how it went. So sometimes I would be like so defensive for myself because there was no one to protect me. I would look out for myself very often, and I would say I'm a kind of like a laid back person if you try to know me. And then I'm kind of like someone who is reserved because I have to know you first before you know me first. So that's the kind of thing that I have said for myself, like you can't cross that boundary, like I have to protect myself here because there's gonna be like no one who's going to protect me like how like fathers have to protect their daughters. So that's how it is.
So does it go back being defensive in trying to protect yourself? Does it go back to that fear of rejection we've talked about?
Yes, yes.
And there was a part you said you would try to please people because you are afraid that that person would leave. Like, how has that affected you in any way, or it just ended as people pleasing and you were never affected by that?
We all have different attitudes, choices, and different kind of like a grow up mentality. So at times I'll be a people pleaser, not necessarily to everyone, but to the people who are around me, trying to make them like trying to make myself seem like I am actually here, and yeah, and it has affected me because um like I would have to go like an extra mile trying to explain myself each and every time. I have to explain each and every situation, trying to please them and go that extra mile just because you have to like I have to keep someone closer to me. But then I realized that that's not the life I want. I mean, that's not what it's supposed to be. Like if someone has to be with me in such and such season or such and such time, they're gonna stay. And then I just came up with my own boundaries. Like if you want, then that's it. But if you don't, then that's it. Because trying to understand that your situation is not gonna change even if you try to do such and such, because that was also affecting me in terms of my own mental health. I was being affected with my own my own time as well, because it affected like all areas of my life. So I was just trying to please people in all areas. It's not good. So I was like, this has to stop, because the situation that I'm in is forever, because I don't know if he's gonna come back. And where is he even gonna start when he comes back? Are we even going to have the same relationship when he comes back? So yeah.
Okay, I'm glad you had to create your own boundaries, because when it comes to people pleasing, I feel like you end up losing yourself in the process. So creating
Yes, yes.
boundaries, it helps you stay firm, and you not lose value, or you value yourself more by creating those boundaries. So I'm glad that you were able to discover that on your own, and you said, okay, you know what, I'm going to create boundaries for myself, because if I don't do this, I'm going to keep hurting myself, and it's definitely going to affect your mental health. Like you said that you had mental health issues as well. You also talked about depression, that you would always cry and all. So it's very good that you had to create boundaries for yourself. So have you ever found yourself in a situation where you tried to fill in the pieces of your father, like creating your own imagination of how your father would have been like?
Yeah, of course. Like I had like numerous times, even okay, so even the times that I would cry myself to sleep, I would try to figure him out. Like, what is he like? What does he like? What does he do? Um, what does he look like, and what would we even do together if he was around. So like those kind of things. So I would imagine myself, having my father here and then me, and then trying to figure out, like trying to have at least of a moment together. I would even imagine just just trying to air out something that is on my chest to him, to my imaginary dad, because I because I want him to be here for me, but well, he's not here, so I'll just create my own imaginary dad. So yeah,
So did that make you feel better, or it just worsened the situation?
I would feel better.
You would feel better. Okay, so
Yes.
you had your, you created your own imagination of your father, right? So have you ever tried, looking for those characteristics in guys? Like maybe you'd say, okay, I think my dad would be kind, my dad would be lovely, or my dad would be this. Did you try to look for those characteristics, imaginary characteristics in guys when it comes to relationships?
Actually, it's the opposite. Because the first thing that I ask a guy, if he wants to be in something serious, even if you just like go on a date or something, I would ask, would you even stay with your family forever? That's the first thing that I ask. Yeah, because it matters to me the most. So yeah, if he's like the not the nice kind of guy, you will see some kind of like the answer that you're gonna get is not the answer that you're gonna be like, looking forward to hear. So and that also gives me an insight of whether this person is desirable or not. And actually some other characteristics like are you going to be there for your family? What are your sacrifices when it comes to family? Let's say you get a job somewhere else, like in a new country or in a new town. Are you willing to go there with your family? Something that has to make the family stay together. So that's exactly what I look for in a guy, instead of like looking for the imaginary traits. Of course, the imaginary traits are gonna come. Like, how would you view the family thing? Like, are you gonna be there for your kids? Are you the kind of like a father who's gonna play with their kids at any time? That kind of thing. And like, yeah, are you gonna even like randomly go pick up your kids at any time? Go watch soccer games for your kids with your kids and all that. So that's the kind of things that I want. Like that I actually ask a guy whenever I go on a date or when someone is actually interested in me.
Okay, I totally understand where you're coming from. You grew up without a dad, so obviously you don't want your kids to grow up without a dad as well. So your questions are coming from the fact that you grew up without a dad and you want that assurance that this person is going to be there. If he says he's going to be there since from day one up to the end, then he's gonna be there. So I totally understand where you're coming from. So you talked about, having mental health issues and having depression, like this has affected you emotionally and it has affected you mentally, right? So what have you done to overcome all this? Have you ever tried seeking help, or you had to discover some of these things on your own and try to find solutions and help yourself heal from this?
Okay, I can say that it has been some sort of a lonely road, if I can say it that way, because at some point you just don't want to burden your mom with some questions, some buzzing questions like, so where's my dad? So what happened? So this, and that, like each and every time. So I discovered that journaling is a very good tool that anyone can use. So whenever I have some issues, I'll just write them down on a on in my journal, write them down, write all my feelings down. Even if I have like a very bad day, just write it down, and then afterwards I can decide to keep it, or I can just tear it up and just light a fire. So it's those kind of the little things that can actually help you, because most of the people don't understand, because most of my friends, they do have their fathers with them. So talking to them with that kind of like a topic, they wouldn't understand. It takes someone without a father as well to understand what you are going through. So yeah, I do have my own kind of like methods for me to calm myself down, make myself very clear with my emotions and my depression. So yeah.
Okay, journaling, that's a good way to, write your feeling, a good way to deal with your issues. In my line of work, we actually encourage people to write things in their journals. It helps if you don't have anyone to talk to. If you take your journal and write your problems or your thoughts and your feelings down, that's a way of venting as well and letting your feelings out. So I'm happy that you do that, because it's a great method of, trying to find healing and, just letting out your emotions and your thoughts and the feelings. So you said you have, methods that you use. You said you calm yourself down. Like, how do you do that? How do you calm yourself down when you're feeling down, or when you're in a situation where you probably feel angry with your dad, or you're just frustrated? How do you calm yourself down? You can probably help people who are listening, or maybe there's going to be a person who's going to watch this live after this, and they would also want to know how you calm yourself down, so that they can get notes or a few tips on that.
Okay, so there are like a couple of things that I do. For example, the first one is to watch relatable content to what I'm going through. So I just go on YouTube, just search something that is related to my situation. If I hear someone else having the same kind of situation as me, I can relate to them. And even if in the comment section you can just write something kind to them, it makes my heart warm that I actually have someone who is actually having it worse than me. And just to think that maybe their dad is actually there, but then he's not even doing anything, or he's worsening the situation, but then mine is not even there, is just something that like is a totally different thing. But then at the same time we're in the same situation, so it kind of like helps me a lot. And then the other thing is try to distract myself from the things, from thinking something in related to that. So firstly I read. Secondly, I try to vlog. So I have a vlog channel on YouTube. And yeah, and also just hanging out with friends. Yeah. So those are the things that has helped me to cope up with the situation.
Wow, that's nice. I think just hearing someone's story, it lifts up your soul. You know that, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not struggling alone. There's someone out there. Maybe they've done certain things to overcome their situation, and just knowing that can give you hope, and you can just say, you know what, I think I can overcome my situation as well. So thank you very much for coming on this live and sharing your story. Do you have any encouraging words that you want to share with the people who are listening, and those people who are probably in the same situation as yours? Like, what can you say to them?
I can say, remember that phrase that says, be content with what you have. So it's something that you have to live by, because for someone who is in my situation, I've come into terms that this is the kind of situation that I have. Like, I'm not, there are times that I say to myself, what if my father comes back? And then I say, instantly think that, what if something happens? Like, what if something that is of expectation doesn't happen in the way that I imagine? So it's that kind of thing that can occur and occur and occur in my mind, that I have to be content with what I have. I mean, I have a loving mother and I have amazing relatives who are always supporting me in each and every way. So having one doesn't mean that your life is going to be great. And having not having one doesn't mean that your life sucks. So it has to be like a balance, that you have to look for the positive things that you have in your life right now instead of looking for something that is absent.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing that. So I was just listening to you saying, "What if my father comes back?" And then in my head, I'm like, "Okay, what if your father comes back? What will you do?" Let's just say he comes back. What will you do?
I mean, of course, I do imagine him coming back and all, but honestly, I will have to be mentally prepared for it, because I mean, I've grown 23 years without him, so yeah, it's gonna be like a life changing situation, a life changing experience for me, honestly. So I'll have to be mentally prepared. I can't say that I will be happy, because I don't know if he's going to bring happiness. I can't say that it's gonna be sad, because I don't know what he's gonna bring. So yeah, it's like that.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you very much. But I loved what you said. You said be content with what you have. That's powerful actually, because if you grow up without a dad, like you said, you were envious. You'd probably get jealous or you'd feel sad. Just accepting that, what, it's just me and my mom and my relatives. I think it also helps. It will also protect an individual from hurting themselves, trying to please people, trying to protect, to be defensive, protect yourself because of fear of rejection. So it's very important that we be content with what we have. Obviously, we are talking about unavailable fathers, but I think it works in general in so many areas. We just need to be content with what we have in general. So thank you very much, Ashley, for joining in and for sharing your story and for giving us tips. I was actually surprised that you do all these things on your own. Like, you had to discover all these things on your own. Maybe you had to go on Google, but that's a very good way. Sorry, excuse me. That's a very good way of. Sorry, excuse me.
It's okay.
Okay, I don't know what happened, but you can
That's
tell
okay.
that my voice changed, right? Yeah, I don't know what happened, but that's a good way of dealing with your emotions and your frustrations and your issues. So I'm very happy and I'm pleased that you do that on your own by yourself, which is something that is not common to, it's not everyone who gets to know that they have to journal their thoughts and feelings, who gets to know that they have to look for people who have the same situation as theirs. It's not everyone who knows that they have to distract themselves sometimes, and it's not everyone who gets to understand that they have to create boundaries for themselves. So I'm happy that you actually got everything figured out. So thank you very much for once again for coming in. And for those who joined the live, thank you very much, you guys, for tuning in. And please come back next week as we are going to have another guest. So enjoy the rest of your evening. And you too, Ashley, enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, this marks the end of our session. So bye.
Bye.